6 Days in Fallujah is a game that I have been waiting to hear more information about since they opted to delay the game last year, and now we finally have something to talk about in the form of a new devblog that was released on February 11th. I'm just getting around to it now, so let's jump into it. But before we do that, I have to thank today's sponsor, Opera GX. Now, we've talked about Opera GX in the past. It's a web browser that allows you to be in control, specifically when it comes to enhancing performance on the PC. You can choose how much CPU and RAM gets used by the browser so it doesn't bog down your system, and using that in combination with the network limiter, you can take the power back. You have the sidebar there as well, which allows you to do things like use Discord and Twitch integrated right into the browser while you still browse the internet, and you can receive all your notifications for Facebook Messenger, who uses that, WhatsApp, and whatever messaging platform that you're using. If you're listening to music, Opera GX has integrated Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music directly into the browser, so it's all in one window as you browse. They also have things like GX Corner, which allows you to stay up to date with free games as well as the best deals and new video game releases, as well as breaking game news, all in one easily accessible place. And on top of all of that, you guys have total customization of the lighting, themes, wallpaper, as well as colors. And one thing they didn't have when I talked about this last was Opera GX Mobile. Yeah, you guys can actually access this on mobile, and it can be connected to your desktop version as well, which is actually pretty cool. There's tons of more features, including VPNs and ad blockers, but if you guys want to try it out for yourself, you can click the link down in the description, download Opera GX for free. They've been sponsoring the channel for over 2 years now. They're one of my favorite browsers to use, so go check them out. Let's bring this video back to 6 Days in Fallujah. So this new sitrep called Gear Authenticity was posted quite a few days ago, and it opens up with a great fucking quote. You're running with 100 pounds of gear on your back at full speed in a sprint while you're taking machine gun fire, and the whole time you're looking straight ahead, but you're also looking down to make sure your feet are still moving below you. Authenticity stands at the core of the experience we're building in 6 Days in Fallujah. More than 100 Marines, soldiers, and Iraqi civilians who were present during the Second Battle of Fallujah entrusted their stories with us so we could have the opportunity to share them with the rest of the world. It's an opportunity we intend to get right, and so it's become our responsibility to develop a game that's both rooted in realism and unlike anything that's come before. That already makes me excited. I knew they were going to go for the realistic approach here, but I'm glad that they're doubling down. They say, of course, developing the most authentic military shooter to date requires countless amounts of reference material. For 6 Days in Fallujah, we've gathered thousands of photographs and hundreds of videos to accurately portray the people, places, and objects from this period of history. Alongside our growing archive of media, we actively collaborate with consultants for verification checks. These consultants live around the world, from California to Cairo, Boston to Baghdad, and with reference photos and videos in their pockets and consultants on deck, we also purchase surplus military gear and clothing from the Middle East to use as tangible reference material for our artists. We achieve more accurate results with these references in hand almost every single time, and as a result, our gear is as close to real-world material as technology allows us to be. They also say that please remember that all the assets shown are currently a work in progress. Let's start with the helmets. In 2004, there were at least 3 different helmets being fielded by the USMC. So you have the Cold War era PAS-GT, the newer and improved USMC lightweight helmet, and the even more streamlined advanced combat helmet. What's more, special operations units were fielding newer MICH helmets during this period as well. As you can imagine, all this variation caused for some confusion. We took a look at community feedback and sought after additional helmet models at the studio. From there, a complete remodel of Marine headgear was underway, and you guys are looking at it here. The model and remodel processes pose a few challenges. First, every piece of art is interconnected in a long chain, so any tweaks or adjustments made have a good chance of affecting other pieces of the puzzle. Assets are continuously passed back and forth between character artists, animators, and technical artists to meet the authenticity goals both outside and inside of the game engine. There have been cases in which equipment models were identical to our reference material until they were imported into Unreal. It's a very dynamic process, and we want to commend our entire art team for the long hours dedicated to getting the details right. Now our players can rest assured knowing our base Marine character wears USMC lightweight helmet with a more accurate upward curve at the back. It's fucking crazy how so many people are following this game and picking out the very subtle, differences in the art models compared to the real life counterparts. It's so interesting and fascinating to see this process. I would actually love to see a video be made so we can see how they're actually modeling these helmets and that process from going from the artists to the animators to the technical artists. I would love to see that, just as like a game dev geek. Next up are the flak jackets, or the plate carriers, and as it turns out, one of our references was a bit too new. The USMC had made some subtle changes between the time of the battle and when we took photos of Marines at Camp Pendleton shortly afterward. Upon realizing we needed to go back in time to get closer to the real thing, we acquired the correct Interceptor body armor vest, and from there our artist went back to work in a similar fashion to the helmet rework. Now the flak jackets are more authentic with fewer mobile webbing rows. So these guys are really taking authenticity seriously, and I really hope that this amount of effort reflects in the storytelling as well. They go on to talk about the variety of pouches, and after they received some community feedback on coloring, they dug into more reference material, which was then provided by the community. We found different levels of color variation. In some cases, magazine pouches were colored coyote tan, in others they were woodland. Instead of a one-size-fits-all solution to coloring, we're now including multiple variations to paint a more accurate picture as a whole. And when I read that, I would hope that there's some sort of character customization, so those subtle variations can really be shown off as you're switching between mag pouches. They then go on to have a conversation about hydration pouches, and they say that they appreciate the conversations regarding the standard issue versus the Camelback. They decided to go with something similar to the Camelback because Marines, they were given standard issue hydration carriers and canteens, but most found themselves wanting more to work with, so they often brought their own Camelbacks alongside personal goggles and sunglasses straight into the field. They say that some Marines they spoke with even preferred the Camelback to the standard issue. And on top of that, they're ending this blog post by saying there has been a community interest in equipment durability, and they say they want to take this opportunity to tease the progress. Their artists have the ability to control the dirt intensity on faces and equipment as players complete operations. This dirtiness is tailored to support our very specific pieces of gear, as players will even find dirt along the folds, crevices, and straps of the equipment. There's more work to be done on this feature, but we hope this drives authenticity even further for our players. They say authenticity in every aspect, including gear and equipment, is fundamental to the entire team working on 6 days in Fallujah. They're committed to getting the details right as we share the stories of those who were there in 2004. They once again thank the community for sharing the feedback necessary to help make those visual changes to the gear happen, and they say as they continue development, we welcome the same feedback as we work to improve our game every step of the way. So I'll be honest, not really the update I was expecting going into 2022, but it's definitely a nice piece of intel to reflect the mindset of the studio and know that they're going in with the absolute best of intentions to display and showcase Fallujah in the right, or I should say the most accurate light as they can. This is really cool to get a little deep into, but I would love to start seeing more about different areas of Fallujah, different weapons that are going to be in there. I would love to just see more about the actual core gameplay loop as well. Are we just moving from house to house in a sort of like breach and clear scenario? Is there going to be like cinematic cutscenes between these? What is the actual game going to look like once it releases? I'm very anxious to hear more about it, but I wanted to cover this because I feel like you guys have been itching for news on 6 days. I have as well, and this is just the next piece of news that we were given. My name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked the video, leave a like on it, subscribe for everything FPS, and a big shout out to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to become a member for 99 cents a month, hit that join button down below and become part of this ever-growing community of people who are FPS enthusiasts, people who expect quality and authenticity and just really want good FPS games again. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.